Okay, welcome back, everyone. So, let's continue where I left off. Dragon Quest IV I actually didn't play for a long time. I think I may have experimented with it at some point, playing it through emulation, since I had no way of buying the game anymore without paying like $100. I didn't play very far into it. The game seemed very weird to me, like the way it was framed. And I didn't really like it at first. And I'll get more into that later when I actually fully got into it. But the next game that I really played a lot was actually Dragon Quest V, which was a Super Nintendo game that when I found this out, I'm like, really? This was on Super Nintendo? But it wasn't released over here. And that really frustrated me, because I'm like, really? Come on? Like, they made the games, but didn't bring them over stateside? Ugh. But I did play the translated version. I think it was No Progress that actually did that. Both that and Dragon Quest VI. I'll get more into my feelings of 6 later, though. When I first started playing 5, I was like, oh man, look at this game. Like, I was like, seriously, just look at it. It looks spectacular. I mean, I thought 3 looked good, but wow. Jumping into 16-bit did wonders for the series. And, oh man, it was so great. When I first started out, just the feeling of adventure, you traveling with your dad like this, gave me strong nostalgia for Dragon Quest III, because you had the hero looking for his father to figure out what happened to him, and in this game, you are traveling with your father, so I was like, oh, I can get into this. This is awesome. But you don't travel with him for very long before you're stuck on your lonesome, and you have to go through a cave or something. And I was like, well, this game just got a lot more difficult, didn't it? But I did manage, and as I progressed through the game, I think one thing that really makes me like this game a lot is this game really did understand the meaning of drawing you into the world and the characters. And they made them feel real, is what I liked. They made the characters feel like real people. They weren't just typical RPG caricatures like I was used to at the time. And I really appreciated that. And there was also a lot of build-up to these characters too. Because you see them as kids, but then when you get older, you see them, you see their older selves, and you see how they changed. I had never seen anything like this before. And I'm always a stickler for romantic subplots, and this game is probably the best example of using one, because it wasn't just the typical, like, childhood friend shtick here. It really did feel like you had a very strong connection to these characters. So much so that when you get far enough into the game to where you have to actually get married, which, by the way, an actual RPG where marriage is a central focus point to progression is a concept that I wish more games did more with, that don't. And that is a really frustrating concept, but I really did appreciate this, and when you actually have to get married, it's not as simple as just find this girl to get married to progress the plot. No, they treat this very seriously. There's 2 girls that actually really like you. And and they both have their own reasons for doing so, and there's actually a big discussion about the importance of which girl to choose, and I gotta be honest, when they actually give me the choice, I didn't know who to pick at first, and I was like, because there was a proper reason to choose either one, and I obviously the game is kind of leading you towards making one choice, but both choices are very valid, and it's a very mature choice to make too, and so I was like, well, crap, man. Like, there's a lot of pressure to be putting on me as the player. And as time went on, I came to really appreciate what that game tried to do. It actually teaches people on the importance of making life-changing decisions. It was such an impactful thing for me to experience, especially at my age at the time. And just, wow. I came to really appreciate this game more than any other game I'd ever played. And when a main villain takes your love away from you, and you have to live some of your life without her, and you find out that you have children that have to have grown up without your aid, and you see them reunite with you, that is probably one of the most touching things that I've ever seen in a game, is that moment. That reunion moment. And you even go through deja vu, where your kids are saying, hey, you want to, we're not going to just stay here. You want an adventures with your dad? We're going on adventures with you too. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I love this so much. We've come around full circle at this point, and I love it. It was so great. And then you spend the rest of the game just trying to get the family back together again by rescuing your wife and their mother. And while there is a subplot about you having to save the world because you're the chosen one... Oh shit. Wasn't not expecting this. I should be able to take him. But while I'm facing a panther here, I will just say that I just loved the game so much. And it just got radiant, and that is amazing. I am now at Sagamore. Ah, excellent. But this game, like, I didn't care about the whole saving the world subplot, even though it is handled pretty well. But that's not what mattered to me. I wanted to get my family back. Screw the saving the world crap. Like, that's not what's important for me playing this game. I just want the family to be together and happy. And saving the world will fulfill that quota. But that's not what mattered to me. And you do have the hero's mom that is still alive, and you do find her, and she dies, and just that moment where she ends up dead and prays for the safety of her son, I'll admit it almost made me cry because of how well it was handled. It was just pretty great. It was pretty great. No. I'm trying to remember what happened next. I think Dragon Quest VI was next, but... oh boy. Well, I'll say this. My first impression of the game was pretty great. I mean, I liked the way the graphics and the characters looked. Really stylish. And... trying to figure out... is this the place where you get magic keys? No, I've been in here. I'm trying to figure out... if there is magic keys here, then where would I find them? Well, I'll hold that discussion for a moment while I search around town here a little bit. This might be the wrong town, but... oh, is this him? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, how much money do I have? Ugh, I didn't want to talk to you again. Not much gold, but at least I have keys now. And the first one I'm going to use is up here. It's open, you idiot! So, is this the fighter's ring? Yes. Don't think that does anything, though, does it? Okay. Oh, that's right, it's through equip. Oh, it does do something in this. Huh. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. Nah. Yeah, that would be kind of a problem. Okay, good. But, like I was saying, Dragon Quest VI. Dragon Quest VI, to me, is a game that had a very strong start. Because when I did the opening sequence, it had a lot of weird vibes to it. Like this danger vibe. Like, you're going on this epic journey to defeat this guy. This demon lord guy called Mudo, and you end up getting your butt kicked, and you all get turned to stone, and then you just wake up with it being a nightmare. And I like the first town, I like the people there, and holy crap. I guess that level really helped. Damn. And, And there's this festival that you have to help with. You have to deliver these goods to this place. Oh, damn it. Stay at full health no matter what, it seems. But, while delivering these goods, a tragic accident happens to you because you try to save someone and you end up falling off, and you die. No, legit, you're a ghost, and I'm like, whoa. Okay, this is, kind of depressing. And you find out that there's this girl in this village that's about to get kidnapped by thugs, and there's nothing you can do about it. Which just gives you a feeling of helplessness. And I didn't know what to feel about this. And you are able to actually save yourself somehow, because there's this, like, well of spirits that spirits can go into, and when you jump in, you're back from the dead. Oh, shit. Yes, keep using that. Or attack. Oh, come on. Ah! Oh, come on. Ugh, shit. Please die. Okay, good. But, I got to the point to where you take the goods back to the village, and there's this really neat-looking festival that you participate in. And the spirit that they're essentially worshipping during this festival actually speaks to you about impending danger and whatnot. And now you have to go on this adventure. And I was really into the game. You know, oh, well, heck yeah, I don't mind going on this adventure. And my interest in the game continued for quite a while, because you end up recruiting a big, strong, hulking dude called Hassan, and he joins your party, and you get your wagon, which can store multiple party members and stuff, and throughout your journey, you end up meeting several people that you can end up saving, because there's apparently a spirit world and a real world, and you have to sometimes travel back and forth. I don't know how big of a fan I was with the idea, but it did work for the most part. And you were able to save multiple people using this spirit dust stuff to bring people back from the dead. I guess it's kind of like a Phoenix Down from like a Fall Fantasy game, something like that. And the party members were all really likable in their own ways. I think the part of the game that really did start to annoy me a bit, though, is when the world opens up a bit more. Like when you get other modes of transportation. Because this game, more than any other Dragon Quest, doesn't give you a whole lot of direction. And the world is so huge. And there's some areas you can't even access with certain modes of transportation. So I was like, well, this is annoying. And consider this. There's 2 worlds that you have to explore overall, and the way you traverse them is really inconvenient. I understand the reasoning for it, but that doesn't make it any less obnoxious, because if you had like an airship or something to start off with, where you had access to just about anywhere, I don't think it would have been as annoying, but that's not the case here. There are definitely some areas you can't access. So, what the heck? And considering the fact that you have no idea where to go without a guide, makes the overall experience feel tedious and annoying. Especially when sometimes you don't know which world you have to be in to progress. That just makes it even worse. But we had GameFAQs at the time when I was playing this, so I could use GameFAQs if I had to. That wouldn't have been enough to break the game for me. It sucks, but it wouldn't have broken the game for me. What did? The difficulty of the game. Man, this game was hard. Not Dragon Warrior 2 hard, perhaps, but the boss fights were something else entirely. They did bring back the class system in Dragon Quest 3, although they improved it by a considerable amount. And you can abuse that to give yourself an edge in combat, but the grinding was annoying in this. You couldn't just grind anywhere. To make your classes strong, you had to fight enemies of comparable strength. Which wouldn't have been a problem if the game was a little more generous about it. It wasn't. You generally had to fight really strong enemies that were comparable to your stats. And when your classes start off kind of weak, that's not a good thing. My party members would sometimes die, depending on how weak of a class they were in, and that meant they weren't going to get any class points. Which meant that I essentially had to go back, revive them, and come back, which costs a lot of money, by the way. And Dragon Quest games have never been very generous about that, so that was annoying. And then, once you finally got the classes strong enough, you would have to figure out how to progress, only to find a few dungeons that you would run into, where you'd probably get your butt kicked, since some of these places suck and I hate it. I swear, there was this one area which had a legendary equipment in it, which was also a thing in Dragon Quest V, sort of, but in this game, this one dungeon sucks. I hate it. Because the monsters are so hard. Even for an experienced party, they're kind of hard. And I think that there's this dungeon where you can't use any magic? I think. It was either Dragon Quest V or Dragon Quest VI, which had a dungeon in it where you couldn't use any magic or anything. And it sucked. And you had to get all the legendary equipment to beat this game, if I recall. You couldn't beat it without it. And let me tell you, if you didn't have a guide, good freaking luck with this. Because they hit this pretty well. It was obnoxious. But I will say this much about Dragon Quest VI. As annoying as it is to play through it, the final area is really well designed. Because there's like this dream demon lord called Death Timor, or Deathmore if you like the less stupid name. Or Mortimer, if you like the new translation. Regardless of what his name is, this guy is kind of a big deal, because he has put a curse on his domain, which makes it to where no one can fight his minions, because the curse lowers their HP to 1 and their MP to 0, making them pathetically weak in his presence. And the only way to break it, he has under lock and key. So you have to be kind of stealthy in order to even survive in this dark dimension that he controls. And you do eventually find a way around it, but it's not easy. And even when you break the curse on yourself, fighting his elite guards, not the easiest thing in the world to pull off. They love to spam critical hits and strong magical attacks. You need to come really prepared for this one. And not only that, but when you actually make it to His Majesty, the Dark Demon Lord, the Dark Dream Demon Lord, as I call him. Oh man, this guy is hard. He has 3 forms you have to go through, and this guy can dish out the damage quick. His final form has 3 parts, and if I recall, they all can attack at once. It's a pretty big deal. I had to actually use save states and farm the Metal King slimes, which give a lot of experience, in order to even stand a chance against this guy. And guess what? He's not even the hardest thing in the game. If you have all the prerequisites to unlock the optional bonus dungeon, and you go through it, there's actually a much harder boss, which was foreshadowed in the storyline for this game. And you actually get to fight this huge hulking demon. He's called Dark Dream, and he is a summoned demon which has the power to annihilate anything that he touches. This includes you, by the way. He does play fair and fight you in a normal battle, but oh man, this guy is so hard. Like, seriously, you have to be at max level with some pretty good class setups to even stand a chance against this guy, unless you're just really strategic. But man, this guy is really hard. Not only that, but if you want to get the bonus ending of the game, you have to beat him in under 20 turns. Yeah, one of the hardest bosses in Dragon Quest history. And they have a bonus ending that you have to beat him in under 20 turns. Are you serious? I mean, I did pull it off once, but it wasn't easy. Just wild with that shit. But yeah. Dragon Quest VI is a game that's not terrible, but I wouldn't recommend it as the first Dragon Quest to start with, because it does have a tendency to leave a bad impression when you consider the game overall. I mean, I know a lot of people like it, and that's fine. I'm not saying you can't, obviously. And they have every reason to want to like it. However, I will also say that, that I think games like Dragon Quest III and Dragon Quest V are far better choices, in my opinion. Because that's how I feel. And I'm probably going to save and stop the recording here, because we got a couple more games to go through, and they're a bit of a doozy, just saying.